Diary. Shout out to Footballer's Diary.
Shout out Footballer's Diary.
Greatest asset is like
So this has turned into one of my favorite things in soccer, especially, well, exclusively in U.S. soccer. But we just finished the MLS draft, and I was super excited to see some of my guys, my picks, go early or go, and to be selected. There was some people who were super surprised about the first few picks, or at least the order of them, not them being selected. So let's get into it. The biggest surprise, obviously, was Tyrese Spicer from Lipscomb going number 1 overall to Toronto. The thought was that Canadian native KSB might be the first-round pick, especially to his hometown team. For me, I had Kamani going number 1 overall, but I do understand that Toronto is looking for someone to start, play, and make a major difference right now. And that's who they felt their guy was. But given they were both Generation Adidas players, both high-quality attacking players, you couldn't go wrong with either one. And a lot of people on Twitter asking, like, what is the Generation Adidas player? This isn't really a contract. It's more or less a designation for the MLS's top pick players in order for them to essentially be drafted earlier and for the MLS to do what they like to do the most, save money. These players don't take up the allocated funds for their roster, their salary, excuse me. It's a huge accomplishment for the player, and most of the time, like last year, the top 5 picks were all, Generation Adidas players. This year, all the GA players went also, not top 5, but it comes to my actually biggest story headline. What I thought was really cool was 2 players from Lipscomb University going top 10, and one of them being a Generation Adidas player. In the past, I've been really skeptical of this GA player because I thought, okay, the MLS essentially is picking because of the roster salary implications. The MLS is, picking who goes, where in a way. But when you have a player from Lipscomb University, no disrespect to Lipscomb, really interesting university and definitely on the come up for sure. Getting a GA player, right? It means it was based on merit, because if not, it would have went to one of the top 5 big schools, Clemson, Maryland, Georgetown, something like that. So it kind of really was refreshing with all my frustrating news coming out about the MLS that, okay, look, this is something pretty cool, and it looks like it's based on merit. So shout out to Lipscomb University having 2 players in the top 10 and a Generation Adidas player. So really cool stuff. I must confess, Farrington going number 3 to Dallas. I was a little bit late to the party on Farrington. I kind of overlooked him, but seeing that he was the USL2 Player of the Year, I immediately knew, okay, this guy's for real. Jaden Hibbert might not have been the first selected goalkeeper, but he definitely was number 1 in my book. As far as goalkeepers go, I think he's right there with anybody and can be an immediate starter, even though it sounds like he's going back to college. So kudos to him and congrats to him for a team believing that much in him that, they're willing to stash that pick away for him. But he definitely deserved it. Hell of a player. 2 teams that really stood out to me in the draft were Real Salt Lake, who not only had a great draft, but selected this really interesting young duo that I think might actually be able to, start or, at least both be, contributors to the team, and that is Matthew Bell and Kevin Bonilla. Matthew Bell is a great story. If you haven't heard his story, go check it out. Really interesting guy, but also a hell of a player, all-around player who can score, pretty much do everything. So really great duo there, very exciting. My personal winners of the draft were Colorado Rapids. Colorado Rapids had an amazing draft and selected people that could start. This whole draft was you kind of seen a shift in this draft from looking at people who might be prospects down the road to who could play right now, which is great for college soccer and for American soccer, period. Wayne Frederick from Duke Number 2, great pick, Kamani KSB from Maryland. If you haven't seen his highlights, check them out. He went viral several times this year. Crazy player. Really excited about him. I tried to get him on the podcast. Maybe it could still happen. And then a crazy pick, Nate Jones, my favorite center back in the draft, via trade from Austin to, solidify their dominance in this draft. All 3 of these guys could play right now. All 3 of these guys are top talents, and Colorado means business. My sleeper pick, I always like whoever goes last in the first round because you're still a first round pick, right? But you have that little bit of chip on your shoulder. Jaden Da is definitely somebody I think is very exciting. Ton of speed, size. Everybody kind of knows I don't like huge center backs and huge strikers because a lot of times they can't pivot and they don't have good feet. Jaden is not only is he lengthy, he's a long strider, but he could pivot, he could move, he's got good feet. So really excited to see how he pans out. Opposite end, I was shocked to see Stephen Honor Gemfi going so late. But huge pickup from Houston. Again, somebody who's going to come play and score goals right now. Another crazy late pick, crazy that it was a late pick, was Kijima from Wake Forest to St. Louis. Great pickup for them. I thought he was going to be somebody he still went fairly high, but I definitely thought he was someone who's going to go top 10 possibly. All the time in drafts, you'll see players that you think are going to do great and maybe don't do as good as we thought, and then somebody you didn't know of or you look past and they end up having a big career. For me, that person may be Gio Krosecki from Q's. Again, another great story. Anytime I see somebody who he's a hometown player, right? So he's from Syracuse. Obviously, Syracuse is a powerhouse. I'm not sure his story, how he got there, but I'd love to find out. Love to have him on the podcast. But anytime you see somebody who makes it from their hometown to a university like Syracuse, where it's super competitive, international talent, I mean the top of the top, and is able to be one of the players of their year, played for a national championship, that sort of thing. This guy, he's been through the process. He's technical, he's consistent, and he's possession-based, which I think is going to be amazing for Orlando. That's their style. So I think that's going to be a player in a few years where we look back like, oh, that was one of the guys from this draft. There's a lot of things I wish we could change about college soccer. I wish that ESPN didn't make us pay extra for it so everyone could see it, so it could grow. I wish that the national championship was in a different venue that was a bit more compatible to the crowd, so it's a better atmosphere. But I don't wish they changed anything about the draft. It's one of my favorite things in soccer. It's such a cool experience. I think one day it'll be just as big as, the NBA draft or any other draft we have in this country. So really excited to see how these boys pan out. Hopefully get a few of them on the podcast. And good luck on the start of your journey. It's not the end. This is the start. So good luck. I hope to see you guys soon.